forward to address those needs. A violation of status is not a reason for deportation. That's just not so. What we need there is comprehensive immigration reform with a path to citizenship.
President Trump threatened a veto on this bill if it makes it to his desk. Joining us right now is Republican strategist John Thomas. John, it's good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. Nancy Pelosi coming out with all of these things as far as separating families. I mean, it's really a mischaracterization of what's going on at the border right now. How does she get away with it?
Well, look, she's blinking because Trump was ready to send ICE in to deport a bunch of illegals, and now he's giving her a moment to give him some money. First of all, let's pause for a second and flash back to the last several months. Democrats were twisting themselves into knots, saying there wasn't a crisis at the border. But now Democrats are saying, wait, all of these families are in cages. We've got a crisis at the border. So number one, they were lying there. Number two, even if they manage to give Trump more funding, this is treating the symptom, not the cause, because they're going to give him more funding for detention facilities, not to deal with the actual illegals crossing. So, look, I hope that we get more money for this. I don't know that Nancy will get it done before the Independence Day break, the recess. But, yes, the hypocrisy that the Democrats are dealing with on this issue is so wide.
I thought you were going to flash back into a few years ago, not a few months ago, because a lot of these policies have been under the Obama administration, and Nancy Pelosi was in office. So you are right. This is completely hypocritical.
Well, and that's when those detention facilities were created, was under Obama.
That's where the photos came from of the children in the cells.
No, I mean, but now, what you see at the border now, because we took the show to the border a month and a half ago, and the kids that I saw there coming across the border themselves, they were all sick. They had cold. They had been on their feet hitchhiking and walking for 4 months. We didn't know if the people they were with were actually their family. I mean, it is a crisis. And the fact that they can't get anything done to close these loopholes is just ridiculous. And then she's got the nerve to say that the president is separating families. How do you see it, Tom?
Well, the question, John, is there a chance that, Trump says famously, hey, if we can just get together for 15 minutes, we could solve this problem, right? Nancy Pelosi continues to insist that they need comprehensive reform, but you've got Lindsey Graham in the Senate proposing just an asylum bill. Is there a chance there could be something strictly done on asylum that could win enough support in the House among Republicans and a few Democrats to get something to the president's desk?
That's a good question. It's unlikely to happen, and here's why. We're in a presidential cycle, and the Democrats cannot give this president a win, even if it only takes 15 minutes. So I don't see that on the horizon.
We've got this conversation will obviously be one of the talking points at the Democratic debates. The Democratic debates tomorrow night and Thursday night, 20 Democratic contenders facing off in 2 separate debates tomorrow and Thursday. The field's so crowded that the group of candidates were randomly divided into these 2 nights. Current frontrunner Joe Biden will appear in Thursday's debate. He'll face candidates including Mayor Pete Buttigieg, Senators Kamala Harris, Bernie Sanders. What's your prediction? Let's go through Wednesday and Thursday, see how you
well, the first debate, Elizabeth Warren is the big name in the field. So the question is, not only she needs a command that night, but can she set the stage for the following night? Can she kind of set that media narrative? I'll be watching for that. The other is on the big night with most of the big candidates. I'm watching most closely for Joe Biden because he has the most to lose. When you're the front runner, any slip up will cause the narrative the next day and the following week to be, wow, maybe Biden doesn't have what it takes.
And he's just so gaffe prone.
Yeah, and Biden has to just do no harm, which is going to be hard, especially when all these candidates have a vested interest in ganging up on him. What I would suggest to the former vice president is to say, deflect the attacks. It's going to be hard. Don't address any of the charges and lay out his broader promise, which is, number one, I'm the only one who can beat Trump, which I would contend is not true. But number two, it's Biden's argument is fundamentally we need to get away from these, carnival barkers like Trump and the extremists in our party, and it's return to a time of civility and steady leadership. If he can drive that narrative, he might have a good night. Here's the last thing I would say. A bunch of the lesser candidates all need breakout moments to stay alive in this process. It's going to be very hard. Trump had the same challenge in 2016, remember, but everybody was appearing on the stage at the same time. The difference in 2016 was Trump differed in both style and substance from the rest of the field. Both stylistically, we know Trump. But on substance, he was the only one arguing against TPP. He was the only one saying build Democrats are almost all the same on the policy.
Yeah.
The only way they
right.
differ is in identity.
Well, Trump really, put his finger on what the American people wanted. I mean, he was talking about the economy and jobs and work.
If you remember that first Republican debate that Fox held in Cleveland in August, the first question was a raise your hand question of whether you would support the GOP nominee, and he was the only one who raised his hand to say that he may not. And that's how the debates. Yeah, absolutely. From the very beginning, he was willing to take that risk that none of these other Democrats. It'll be hard for them.
None of them actually have supported him, so it's funny actually.
Yeah.
John, it's great to have your insights. Thanks so much. John Thomas joining us there. Chicago police, meanwhile, are releasing hundreds of